source was her narrative because it allowed me to almost interview her as if she was still living, and really understand what the era was like and what her experience was like, because it's all of her experience as a bias.
What about secondary sources?
Secondary sources, I looked at Neil Salisbury, who wrote a lot about Mary Rowlandson. And I also looked at a source from complaints from Metacom or King Philip about Mary Rowlandson and the English, which helped me understand, some of the conflict between the two sides.
Is there a historical significance today, do you feel, for what went on back in King Philip's War?
I think that it's less historical of matters now, but I think it really brought us where we are today, looking at different races, because she brought to everyone's attention the fact that although they have a different skin color, they speak in a different language, they are human, and we can be friends and talk things out diplomatically. So.
I'm interested how, when you're portraying Mary Rowlandson, and how you thought about the Indian's perspective in that way, and how you researched that, what you thought about it.
Well, I think that the beginning of her narrative, she goes through a real transformation, and she goes from seeing these savage beasts as people she would rather die than go with, but she changes her mind due to the fact that she just really wants to live, and she gives herself an opportunity based on that fact, and she sees that she can, learn to love these people. And I did not go, based off what she thought of them at first, because I don't think like that, but researching Metacom's complaints helped me balance out, what both experiences were like. So.
I was just interested that both books of her narrations are relatively recent. One is a 1997 print. Did they go back and did she have a journal or a diary, or how did they go about this?
She wrote her own narrative, and it was published. It was published months after she had been returned, and I think that they must have. One of the books I read had other people's opinions on her narrative,
Yeah.
so that's yeah.
Thank you.
Two questions on her. You touched upon her efforts at diplomacy. Do you think if she'd been male, she'd have had a different result with the diplomatic efforts she made?
I think that it would have made a huge difference, because at that time being male was considered much higher than women, and I think that it would have been easier for her, but I also think that because she was a woman, it was much more historically significant, because it was a real stepping stone to where we are today.
When they attacked her community, though, if she had been male, would she have lived through the attack to be captured by the Indians and go ahead and do what she did?
Not necessarily. During the attack, in her narrative, she described seeing all of her neighbors die, and they attacked just as many men as they attacked women, and kept as many men as women too.
But they did capture some men.
Yes.
And the men were released in the way she was at some point?
Not necessarily either, because
Sometimes.
since Mary Rowlandson was such a valuable resource, her governor, Governor Leverett, was negotiating for her safe return more so than he was negotiating for some random person who was captured.
Is there anything else you want to tell us, or anything else you wish we had asked?
I think just that Mary Rowlandson was so, I think she doesn't get the respect that she deserves, which is part of the reason why I did this project, because it teaches people that, this woman actually did, this remarkable thing, and she was one of the real reasons of the outcome of the war. And so, yeah.
What is your prop back here?
Oh yeah, this is, sorry, I can push it so you guys can see it. This is the Massachusetts Bay Colony seal, and it,
Why is the Indian saying, come over and help us?
I think it was, yeah, it was a portrayal of a native, and
Uh-huh. A
it's quite,
fiction, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite one-sided, isn't it?
yes, I do sometimes a little bit, yeah, but, so,
Very interesting.
anyway, I thought it would be an interesting background to have.
Uh-huh.
Wonderful job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks for the-